9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Initiate live stream start. Logs be television activate.
Yo. Alright. We're in. Microphone's working. Good evening, everybody. We'll turn this. It's always a bit weird managing the levels here because I've got the headphones, got what I hear. I have to make sure you've got the music loud enough, but also loud enough microphone and nothing distorting. And I've got to look at the chat down here. So good evening to everyone that's tuned in. We've got the Svat in the chat. We've got Starglum, Inner Space Boy, Fiery Biscuits. How you all doing? So I've been in the studio all afternoon working on that other track that I've been showing you recently, the sort of ravey one, and I made quite a lot of progress on it. But I want to keep showing you me working on that in small increments, really. So I figured what I'd do is just run you through a project of a track that I really like that I've released a long time ago, but like the project was quite simple, even though it was quite a complicated sounding track. So I've skipped a couple of these in the last couple of weeks, so I thought I ought to do a bit of a studio session. So here we are. So should be playing quietly in the background here. Maybe I'll turn it down a bit more. So I'm going to play you through all the way through first. This is a track called Approaching Zero, which hopefully you're familiar with. And I made it a couple of years ago now, a few years ago, and it originally came in as a demo by a Russian artist called Tiarum. He sent me like an instrumental sort of drum and bassy track. He's a multi-instrumentalist and like killer drone pilot. He flies drones. I don't know if that's his job or it's an amazing hobby, but anyway, but he's a really good multi-instrumentalist, plays guitars and flute and stuff like that. So he sent me this track and like I could tell it could be amazing, but sort of the production and everything just sort of wasn't quite there. So he sent me all the parts of his guitars and things like that, and then most of them I replayed, or I got the MIDI from him and replayed all of the synths, so I could manipulate everything and get it all properly done. And the guys from Xenturion Prime owed me a favour because I did a remix for them. They owed me some vocals, so I got in touch when I was about sort of 50% of the way there, like had the groove, had everything laid out, sent them the instrumental, and got Bjorn to record me the vocals. Like I sent him a whole bunch of like lyric ideas and a sort of concept for the track, the idea of like a bit of time travel. What would you do if you could come back in time and meet your past self, and sort of weird ideas of infinity, like Approaching Zero. It's the idea of when a graph is it never quite gets to the bit, and like I don't know. Anyway, weird like random ideas. He did an amazing job recording the vocals himself, which is always I love doing stuff like this where I'm not responsible for recording and comping the vocals. It's done by somebody who knows what they're doing already, and they can record the vocals in their own home when they're comfortable, and you know they're good at getting themselves to sound great when it works best for them. So anyway, so I got all the stuff together, and like it took a long time to sort of put this all together, but looking at the project, it's not too complicated. I tidied it up because I did a masterclass for the Academy of Contemporary Music in London a couple of years ago, and I used this as the project to talk to everyone through. So I haven't had a proper look through it since then, so I'm going to be sort of reminded of everything as we go through. Can you hear the microphone okay, by the way? Can you hear me all right? Can you hear? Am I loud enough over the music? It looks like I am from the thing. Stitch Jones, thanks for the host, mate. So I'll turn the volume up now of the tune. I'll play it through without interrupting too much, and maybe sort of highlight a few things, and then we'll go back track by track. I'll show you what the song's made up of and any little bits and bobs I did to get it sounding nice. So there's a couple of synths that I had then that I don't have now or something like that, but it sounds pretty much the same to me now. And also the mix down sounds a bit different because I used an old version of Ozone on the end that I don't have installed now because I have 9, so the settings weren't the same, but sounds good enough for these purposes. So alright, here we go. Going to turn up music. Got my headphones. So there's a whole bunch of old synths there that I put in for the synthwave vibes. All the vocals are these pink ones here. Yeah, anything in hot pink came from Bjorn from Xenturion Prime. It's the vocals. And the synth lead here. Hello, Oliver, Lightning Tree. That synth lead there is, I didn't play that, that was Bjorn from Xenturion Prime. So yeah, if you listen to the lyrics there, it's all sort of ideas of time travel and infinity and like legacy. Like whenever I get all depressed, I'm sort of like thinking about like what you leave behind and if anyone cares and all that kind of stuff. So I guess there's elements of that in there. So there you go, finishing off with the old trusty Poly 6 or something like that, the dum 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 dum. All my tracks seem to start with a dum 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 dum. So I'm going to turn the music down a bit so you can hear me speaking over the music. I haven't found the like sweet spot of relative balances here in this because I'm not monitoring the microphone in my headphones. It's just the music and whatever. Anyway, so if we say look at the intro first. So we got it. Okay, so that was, I bounced part of the main breaks from later on in the track. This is something I do quite often in intros. So that was just the drums there. So this is like just a bounce where, so, you know, all of the drums, this is all the drum stuff here if I unsolo that. Yeah, this big fat chunk up at the top, the green is the kicks, the yellow is snare, the 4 things that build up the snare. The light blue stuff is sort of splashy, topsy hats and things, and then the dark blue is break beats. Then lower down here, their swooshes and booms and effects and stuff. The blue stuff. Then when we get down to here, it's all synths and everything. And then this sort of browny, as usual, the proper brown is the bass there. And then the sort of pukey browny stuff here are the original parts that Tiarum sent me. Tiarum was the guy who sent me the original instrumental track he did. So what I usually do is I start off with all of them and then I progressively delete them to leave just the bare bones that I want. And then there were lots of parts where I just replayed it in a fresh synth that kind of sounded better than, like, to me, than the one he used, and gave me a better chance to sort of get all the EQ and everything sitting right. So if we just loop the first sort of 16 bars, so I've got the bounced drums here. All we're listening to now is this, and you can see these graph lines are things I'm automating. By the way, I've got the screens that you're seeing every 15 seconds. It switches to a different view, so hopefully that helps you see sort of what's going on here. So you'll get the one view where it's the big screen share, and then there's a couple of other scenes so you can see my face and see the chat, stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, so the automation on this break at the beginning, this pink one is the send to a bus, a reverb bus. So you can see just at the end, I blast out the reverb to give it that washout as it then disappears. This is automating the low cut frequency. So it's basically chopping off some of the tops so that the drums don't get in the way too much in the intro and like be too obvious. So there's a high cut and a low cut. They're doing basically progressively cutting off the low end and the top end. And then I'm using this I'd obviously become intelligent at this point. So again, a trick for making your life easier further down the road when you're making tracks. I'll just stop it. Stop. Instead of automating the volume of a track, actually the fader being automated, that's always an absolute last resort. What I tend to do instead, if I've got an EQ on, like there's a few plugins that you'll have that have basically a volume control on them. So instead what I do, if I just want the volume to go down progressively or up, oh, I haven't really been keeping an eye on, somebody shared some bits then. Thank you. I should have been. I'm not getting the audio notifications. Bambula 1987. Thank you for the 100 bits. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So yeah, this is. I wish I'd learned this a long time ago when using Logic and everything. So if you automate the actual volume, fader volume, then if later in the track you just decide universally you want that track to be a bit louder, you have to go through all of the automations of the volume and like put them all up a little bit. So what I do is where I want the volume to be automated and go up and down throughout the track or something, I'll automate a volume within a plugin that isn't the actual volume. So here I'll either add there's a plugin in the utility, there's just one called in the utility, and it's called Gain, which looks like this, which you can drop in and use. But I usually will have an EQ on a track. Usually, I don't use EQ too heavily too much, but usually I have one on there, and there's basically a gain on here, so I'll just automate that. So you can see here on the drums, the volume fades in a little bit and then a fade out a little bit there, and I've done it using automating the volume within the EQ rather than a global thing, so that later on, if I decide I just want that whole track to be a bit louder or a bit quieter, I can do that, and it's not going to sort of be fighting against a pre-existing automation that you're not going to see if you're zoomed out. So there you go. So then what we've got, just some hats. I've always put hats there just from being a DJ in the mixing vinyl days. You need something to mix to know a beat. And then, so we've got a whole bunch of swooshes and booms. I've got because it's a sort of spacey kind of track, I used a sort of fighter jet sample here. Sounds like rockets. Got a whole bunch of different booms. Boom. I'm a big fan of swooshes and booms. There you go. They're all probably like vengeance type things. There you go. White noise down. Bathed in reverb, but not too loud. And there's another one here that'll be like a... Yeah, there you go. So what do we got? So we've got the dum 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 dum. Then you can see there's a sub bass. If I zoom in a bit, then that sub comes in. I'll turn it up a little bit. Volume's all right. Svat is saying, is there an overload during work? What do you mean? Is the audio overloading, or are you talking about psychologically? So, oh, where's my mouse gone? There it is. So we've got that dum 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 dum. Then we've got a sub bass that goes on top of it. This is still just the intro, so whatever. This one's missing. There was an old Jupiter synth or something that I've since upgraded to a new one, and it doesn't automatic. That's what some of these suites where there's like a new version or something. I wish they would sort of realise if you had the old version on, it would. Is he talking about CPU? I don't know. It's hard to understand, really. There's no overload in the system. We're looping this here. If the audio sounds clear, there's no problems. I'm running a 2019 Mac Pro with 16 cores and 48 gigs of RAM and SSD, so it's perfectly fine. So we've got these synths. So this is a favourite of mine. It's on the FM8. So classic sort of FM clavy synth. It's the go-to for your old synth wave, the bow. And then I had a couple of other ones. There you go. And this one, it goes da-down. And what I actually, just to make sure I got the levels right there, I've actually got two separate instances of it, so I could actually, even though there's just two notes, one note's on one channel and the other note's on the other channel there. That's how extreme it goes, just to tweaking the volume levels and stuff. It just makes life a bit easier, really. So we've got a lovely CS80 here, which is the Arturia CS80V, which is one of my absolute favourite synths. I mean, it's modelled on the Yamaha CS80, which is like a god of synths. But the having a software instrument is a lot more convenient and cheaper, and keeps the studio cooler and gives you more space. And then, so what else? We've got some more CS80s coming in here. They'll probably be with automated pitch. Yeah, they're like Blade Runner kind of ones. I can see there's some pitch information there. Beautiful. I have to resist doing that in literally every track I make. It's so like Blade Runner influenced. But there we go. So I'm just going to zoom out a bit. So if we look at some of these original parts, so that was a sort of guitar-y pulse sound, which I just rolled off the bass. If you look at the EQ, I kept that and grimed it up a bit so that everything doesn't sound super sterile. This is some of Mr. Tiarum's guitar. That's just I'm sending it to bus 9, which looks like a big reverb, and again rolled off the low end just so that to reduce any messy extra information that you don't really need, that just makes it more muddy. There's a little riser in there, and then a little drum roll. I think was that his drum roll? Ah, yeah, that was a sort of movie trailer. Dum 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 dum. And yeah, this is a vocal sample. I think this was part of the original that he sent me. Again, super EQ'd off the bottom end. Compressor, I just used the basic Logic compressor for most stuff. That's all you need. So those are most of the elements that are there. And there we go. So this is the first hint of the vocal of what's coming up, seeing as that line's one of the main ones. Beautifully recorded by Bjorn there. And on the vocal there, I've just super rolled off the low end, so it's just the tops, and got some distortion on it. So one of my usual tricks for when you want a vocal to not be a super main one, but to still have it in there, like tease it in. So now we move into the next. Hello again. It's a bit of it. It's not a conventional drum and bass arrangement, this track, really, but I just made the song how I felt it worked as a song. Like, that was what was most important to me, because the lyrical content and everything and just the general vibe just felt quite sort of meaningful and important, and I didn't want to sacrifice that for just sort of being super playable, because it was never going to be a dance floor drum and bass hit anyway. Like, I knew it'd be something I'd get a lot of mileage from playing in my sets. But I didn't, from the get-go, I highly doubted anybody else would really be playing it, so I just thought, well, I'm going to make this how I like it and try and make it as a nice standalone song, and hope people connect. Hello Captain Coach, how you doing? So all the strings drop out at this point to give the vocals some attention, and then the drums come back there, just filtered just a little bit. So yeah, I mean, it's sort of, I guess that's the breakdown before the drop, but the drop doesn't really have like a conventional drop. It just does all kick in, and then the vocals continue. So again, we've got, so I bring back those same bounced drums, and you can see there's a bit of automation there, bringing them up. So we'll now move into the next 32. So this is where you've got all of the drums in. So we'll break them down now. I can see my microphone's picking up all. I've got. It's really hot here today. It went up to 28 centigrade in the UK, which is pretty mad for September. So I've got both my fans blasting. So sorry if they're picking up on the mic. So let's look at this section here. So this is the drums, which I managed to keep pretty simple, really. Like this, I did tidy the project up. I remember before I did the masterclass for the Academy of Contemporary Music. I think what I did is what I'm glad I did actually, because I'd used the VPS Phalanx sample player. I was using that a lot, and it uses the bloody uses one of those dongles for security, Synchrosoft licenser or something, and it just, I don't know what's up, and I'm always updating it to the most recent version and everything, but it just keeps dropping off my license and messing around. So I've stopped using that now completely, and luckily I bounced what it was playing. So it's these yellow ones here. You can see I bounced in place what it was, but it's just simple stuff. So we'll just loop the drums and I'll progressively unmute everything. So the kick is just comprised of two. There's basically a low end kick here to give the with all of my kicks, in best case scenario it should just be two parts really. I'll have a low end one so I can manage how beefy the low end is, and all I've got on it is a compressor, which is just the standard Logic compressor. Ratios up a bit, attacks right down, no, not any particularly crazy, I just wanted it to sort of be level, universal. And then I've filtered off all the top end, because I want that character and the attack and everything to come from the other one, which is this, which is just a tight, snappy, transient-y kick, where I've basically done the opposite. I've rolled off the bottom end so they don't go phasey shit and cancel each other out. So that's basically it. The drums are quite complicated, and for once I used to just roll stuff out, but I remember on this track it was the first time in a while I actually made the effort to do some little fill-ins and changes in the pattern, so you can hear like at the end of the 16 bar little change of the pattern. So if we move on to the snare now, it looks to me I'll have to unmute them just to see. So it's comprised of 4 parts. It's not the world's greatest snare, but it actually, in the overall mix down, Team Good, thanks for the follow. Yeah, Mr. Coach. Yeah, normally everything works fine, and most stuff now you have like a whole suite of plugins and it all authenticates and dials home and stuff like that, and it's fine. But I have a couple of plugins that I don't use that much anymore, but I used to use a lot, and they still rely on a kind of a USB. Dennis Worth has ordered Electrostep thing. Thank you very much, Dennis, if you're watching, and you just ordered an Electrostep. Thank you very much. Yeah, and there's a couple of, there's the iLock and something else that I still have plugged in, and literally when I loaded this project up, it was like, your Phalanx thingy won't load, blah blah blah, and like maybe it's because Phalanx or whatever it's called, it's a Vengeance sample player thingy. I loved it because it's really fast. You just chuck a sample in, and for any sample you did, you could actually have 2 and just sort of mix between the 2. So it's a very simple way for making decent snares and stuff. You just sort of blend a couple of them, and it was very simple and intuitive. I liked it a lot, but not when it started fucking up when I was in the middle of making a tune or loading something back and all the rest of it. So anyway, so the snare's made up of 3 main bits. I've got like a sort of Prider kind of fill-in snare that happens occasionally, but it's not hitting at the same time, I don't think. So we've basically got, this is the kind of guts of it, the fundamental. Then the old white noise, which is, it's coming off the sample. Did I bounce that and resample it? I found, no, it's probably like a Vengeance white noise hit or something. Normally I'll use an ES1. So I use like the white noise things as an easy way to just control, make sure it's got all the tops you need in the right place, and you can, by sorting out the decay of that, it's enough for the sort of the tail vibe. Then, so that's the weird sort of Prider-y snare that kind of comes in occasionally because of the movement. And then this is, see how quiet that is. That's a little clap I've got in there for a bit of character. Really, it doesn't have enough bite to it, so there isn't really a good transient in this. But apart from sort of the guts guts of it, but it seems to work well. That the mix is clear enough that they seem to work well. So that's all of the snares. It's those 4. And then we've got crashes on there, which normally I'd sidechain these. This is a sort of trick I used to do when it was when everyone was trying to like copy the pendulum sound, and this sort of getting that movement from. Let's turn it down, John. Let's turn that to when everyone was like trying to emulate the pendulum sound, like getting a sort of when a cymbal's hitting the same time as a snare or something, sidechaining it off the snare so it gets ducked when the snare hits and then sort of rises up and rides out. It adds a bit more of a tail, and just sort of when you're compressing it all together adds a nice sound. I still do that a fair bit. It definitely helps when you want that particular effect. So I guess the crash is sort of a mould with the snare a little bit there. And I think I actually duplicated what I was doing there, but for mix purposes switched to another track that is called Crashes Louder, and I can see the volume's just a bit higher. So if we just move up here, yeah, the EQ, everything's exactly the same on those two, but I think I just decided that I wanted the crashes to come in louder in the next section, maybe once the vocals had had enough chance to do their thing. So let's just, the rest of this stuff, I'll just turn it up a bit so you can hear. Put the kicks in so it doesn't sound mental. So these are all just shakers and stuff. There's something, I don't know if it's actually Dillinger beat there in the background. There's a few sort of bits of Dillinger breaks I usually whack in to give a bit of character, but sort of EQ'd so that they're just sort of giving the grit. Sorry Dillinger, thank you. Give you 20% of like fuck all royalties this track earned. And then this is a sort of splashy break. It says TC splashy, but I didn't sample. It was on a, don't know, some pack or something or other. Again, like whatever kind of tune I'm doing, even if it's an electro one, and the drums otherwise are all quite synthetic and drum machiney, I'll always try to chuck a couple of breaks in there to give it a bit of sort of griminess. I think we've got Tray Men in there as well. But like this splashy one here, really EQ'd just to sort of take out all the bass, so just to minimise any interference. So that's all the drums basically, and it works alright. So this section here, hopefully you can see my mouse pointer. This whole area here in the middle, this is weird. I'm using my Stream Deck in front of me, which you can't see now. There you go, you see it with my hand. This thingy here is amazing. I got these because they're useful for streaming, for changing the scenes on the software that I use for streaming with all the camera views and stuff. But you can make every little button on here Ancient Observer. Hello, Ancient Observer. Were you asking me questions that I haven't seen? It's a bit harder to kind of keep an eye on the chat while I'm doing this, but so I just sort of check back every now and then. We'll do sort of, if you've got any questions, ask them, and I'll see, and I'll get on it. But yeah, so the Stream Deck thing that I have, I only bought them through getting into streaming because of COVID and all this Twitch stuff. And I've found it really, really useful in Logic. Just, I mean, a lot of the things that you would do as a keyboard shortcut, I just do on there now, and it seems a bit faster because it says on there, like I've customized it to say, press this to do that, blah, blah, blah. So somebody was saying in the chat, Ancient Observer, how many drum layers do I usually use in my track? As few as possible is what I would recommend. I never end up taking my own advice. If we look at this track, where I would say it's about right for my kind of stuff, but if you look at, you know, really, really banging, if you look at, say, like Metric, his stuff sounds very, very simple, but you can be sure that each of the constituent parts in his breaks is probably built of several carefully put together things, but also he will like be ruthless about keeping it simple, like, and I try to go like that, but I don't want to get too I find it hard moving forward with tracks, and I don't want to get too held up on little hurdles like that and then lose my like will to carry on. So I tend to have the vibe that I just want to like get it done, and I'll go back and correct things like that later down the line. So on this track, you've got the kick and the snare. So the kick is comprised of two parts, like a low end and a snappy bit. The snare here is 4 parts, but 3 is the perfect. It's like the fundamental, the transient, and the tail. I usually end up having a bit more than that sometimes. Certainly in the past I did, like it's a big no-no. And then I've got, on this particular track here, I've got loads of different, the sort of shakers and hats and things. They're not necessarily all sounding at the same time. They're all part of a pattern of like the shakers and the top end. So we've essentially got a crash cymbal that's sort of going like that all the time. 909 hats, 909 rides, I think we had. Then just some open hats, sort of on a strange pattern to give it some movement. Then usually a fast closed hats. Sometimes I'll do that like double time and have it through a flange or kind of Giorgio Moroder vibe. Then some shakers. Then what have we got here? 808 rides. Yeah, so the drums are basically kick, which was 2 parts, snare, which is 4 parts, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sort of sparkly top splashy bits, and then 2 or 3 breaks that are layered in, but I tend to sort of alternate them. I wouldn't have them all going at the same time. That's because that'll just get super messy. They're like carefully chosen to not interact too much with each other, but just to sort of give a bit of organic sound to it. Falcons and Allies says, what monitor am I using? The main one I have there, this big, this is a Philips 40-inch 4K curved display, which I've had for a couple of years now, and I got it because it was pretty cheap as far as monitors go. I think it was like maybe 400 quid or 450 or something like that. It's a really crap monitor for anything other than Logic. It is 60 hertz and it is 4K, but sort of when you move the mouse pointer around, there's a bit of ghosting. Like, it'd be terrible for gaming. I use it for the video editing stuff that I do, but if you were doing any like important color correction-y stuff, it would be really crap. But it's brilliant for me because I took the stand off and it sits on the desk. And I got a special mount that's mounted to the desk behind, that's on the Visa mount, that's holding it in place. So it's not too high, because then you end up sort of hurting. I mean, I still hurt my neck the way this is, but it works as best you can with a big screen, and because you're close, the little curve of it really helps. That should be all you need. Then I had a little one that went above, just for meters and stuff, and then I started getting too used to them. Thought, it'd be nice to have like a cheap widescreen one up there. So I've got a crappy LG 1080p. Suspect, thank you for the Prime sub. Thank you very much. On the top there, that's an LG widescreen, only 1080p, crappy one. I've got it mounted upside down as well, because LG's little controller thingy is underneath, and I didn't want there to be any gap in between them. And this one's mounted on a weird stand I made myself out of wood, and then I bought like a Visa mount adapter that's attached to the wood, and it sort of leans forward a bit. I'm actually replacing this soon with the monitor that's behind me here. That's my secondary setup there. That's where I do gaming and my day-to-day stuff. I have my laptop docked in. Only one of those monitors is good. It's the ultra-wide one in the middle, and I've had that for a long time now. But it's only 60 hertz, and I've started doing a bit of PC gaming, and I actually already got the replacement, but I have to send it back because there was a fault. But I got 144 hertz gigabyte gaming widescreen monitor, which is amazing. Like, I've never had a high refresh rate monitor before. There's nobody. The person in the picture, Svat, there, that's Gary Newman, absolute god of synthesizer 80s music. Made a famous song called Cars. So anyway, so I'm going to be making a bit of a change. The ultra wide that's behind me is going to get retired from there, but then moved up above here. I mean, it's slightly wider and it's 4K, so that's going to be really good. So when I'm working here, So the way I normally have it when I'm working without streaming is I'll have the mixer on the top the whole time, which is fantastic, because I when I started out I had two monitors side by side, and that was cool. So I'd have the mixer on one side and the arrange there, but it's much nicer just having what you're working on here, the mixer's permanently there so you can look at it when you need to, and editing and everything like this here. So my workflow is very close to how I sort of really want. So yeah, I'll actually do a studio. I'll do one of those posh like studio tour videos and all like slow motion and shit. Ancient Observer, do you give feedback to producers' tracks? I try to. People send me demos all the time for the label and stuff, and if I like something and want to sign it, usually there'll be a few changes I need, so I'll work with the producers. Usually I'll just say, can you turn this up a bit or turn that down, or do this at this point or something, and usually they'll do that. But sometimes I'll get them to send me the stems, and then I'll basically do either rework it completely from the ground up or just do those tweaks myself, just to try and help out, to try and get it sounding good. I don't generally give detailed feedback to all the demos I get, but because I haven't done a Patreon and things like that, I've been trying to think of ways to, because I know that's something a lot of people want. What I'm thinking of doing, because with Twitch you can have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 subs. There's also a YouTube membership thing that's similar that I've half set that up but haven't activated. But what I was thinking of doing, just to keep things simple, is have the tiers on the subs here on Twitch to give you kind of Patreon style membership benefits. So if it's don't quote me on this yet, because I haven't activated it and done it, and when I have, I'll make it clear. But I think what I'm going to do is make it so tier 2 or it would be tier 3, the more expensive one. Have it sorted out so I'll give you detailed feedback on 2 tracks a month or something like that, or have some other sort of a bit. I'm happy to even do one-on-one stuff and everything, but I've been too busy and I don't really want to end up spending all my time doing that. I need to be making music myself, but while I've got no gigs and stuff, there are a few ways I need to earn money, and I think it might be a good way to do it. And I think in the short term, and as a way just to sort of reward Twitch subscribers and stuff as well, if you're already active on here, if you just did a tier 3 sub, which costs you a bit more but gives me a bit more money, then it means it sort of pays for my time a bit if I'm going to do some kind of detailed feedback, which would be offline. I'd see if somebody became a tier 3 sub and then get them to contact me privately and then whatever. So I'll work on something like that. I think it could be a good idea. And if there is anybody that does want to do any one-on-one type stuff, I'm set up to be able to do that now in the studio with Skype stuff and screen sharing. So I could, but I don't want to have too many clients, as it were. Anyway, I was supposed to be showing you this. So this project is laid out kind of as I would like to. If I just zoom out a bit, maybe we'll get rid of the mixer. Hide the mixer. Where's me Logic Stream Sets mixer? Doink! Look at that. Beautiful. See? Put the piano roll up, press the button. It's there. Nice. Want the mixer? Press the button. The mixer's there. Press it. It's gone. So we got bounce drums and stuff at the top there. I bounced. There's a little thingy here. I love a little reversey thing. It's an idea I nicked off Brian Adams in that there's that thing he did with Chicane where they basically recorded his vocal through loads and loads of reverb, then reversed it, played it through loads of reverb again, and then reversed it again, and you get that kind of speaking back. Anyway, yeah. If you want a kick to a nice sort of a riser effect, make a hit and then whack loads of reverb on and then reverse it. So there at the top, it's all drums here. In the middle, it's mainly sort of swooshes and booms, effects and stuff. And then we've got the bass here. Let's have a look at the bass. It's pretty simple in this track. So this is all the bass all together. One of the reasons why the mixdown on this track is one of my better ones is because it's relatively simple, like musically and production wise. So the old favourite, nice bloody synth sound there. And then I've got a low sub, which I usually just use the EXS24 basic sampler like sine wave thing. And then I had like the higher note, an octave higher. They're all on separate channel tracks so that the volumes can be managed independently. And then I've used Tiarum's original guitar really quietly, but just enough to give it a bit of grit. You can't really hear it. It's not 100% on time, but it stops it all sounding completely robotic. So let's unsolo them so you get them all together. So yeah. And then what have we got down here? So here we are. So these are some of the arpeggios that were originally played by Tiarum, and I got him to send me the MIDI files, and then these are coming out of June. Synapse June. I absolutely love that synth. They haven't paid me to say that. Captain Coach, thanks for the Twitch Prime. Big up. So yeah, I don't think you can just hear how the synths are built up. I'm progressively adding more of the layers here. But it all just sort of adds to the nicer kind of professional sounding. What's this one here? Textures. So it's beautiful really how that so we've got just again that echoey guitar in the background, some little gated guitars, and the EQ and stuff he'd already done, so I didn't. Usually if there's guitars I'll feed it through the virtual pedals and stuff. And then just those really nice. There's a sort of SID stationy synth thing there. And then again, to get the arpeggio sounded the way I wanted it, I layered it up with a few different synths that ticked the boxes that I needed ticking. Rather than just constantly tweaking one preset, I find it easier to do things like that. So yeah, those are those main parts. You can look at the vocals here. So that's okay. So Bjorn, the vocalist from Xenturion Prime, who did the vocals here.
Hello again. It's good to see you.
If we just loop this, so I mean his vocals are insanely good as they are. I didn't really have to do much. Compressor, limiter, and then adding. If you can see my mouse pointer's down in the corner. So that's the main vocal there, and then we've got doubles.
Again. It's good to see you.
He probably won't want me to play you the backing bits, because sometimes backing vocals sound a bit weird.
If you remember, but I do.
So that's been like artificially done with Melodyne and things like that to get the extra. Yeah, you can hear the sort of robot artifacts there.
To see you.
And then this is like radio version.
I'm not sure if you remember,
So those three layered up
but I do.
comes to the. So you have to be careful. I'm still always learning with nice vocals.
Hello again. It's good to see you.
So you have to be careful with the backing ones that they don't overpower it, but you want them to add the sort of depth to what's going on. So there we go. Oh, and then I do things where I'll chop out an in particular a little bit. You can see here there's an extra. This is the.
It's good to see you.
Stuck that in there just to fill in the little gaps. Quickly check the chat. Are you up for a bit of Tarkov tomorrow, Captain Coach? Or this week? So here in the verse, I just went with the pure vocal. And then... So here it's just the... I kept it pure there, and then leading into the chorus or the sort of bridge, I don't know, there's a extra layer comes in. Cool, Tarkov tomorrow night then, wife permitting. So you can hear there, that's the higher bit that comes in. It's just...
So take a stand and reach for eternity.
It's just quiet enough layered up that you hear the effect, but it doesn't interfere. And that's... So that was the guitar. I did some amp modelling type stuff to that, I think, if I turn all of those off. Ah, that's right, I went back on this because I did an acoustic version of it, and I asked Tiarum to record like all acoustic guitar parts for everything, and then I came back and put them into this because it sounded so good. And I think the first time I did this was on The Journey, which had the same vocalist, actually. I'd done an acoustic version, and then like feeding the acoustic guitar through the amp pedal turns it from that into this. Beautiful. So yeah, just did a bit of that, get it sounding nice. But it's on top of the original electric guitar that was recorded. So I just wanted a bit more like power 80s metal, yeah, very like 80s metal guitar. So that's about it for that section. Ah, there's a nice edit. Yeah, I found it. I was so glad. It could have taken me forever. I knew exactly the sound I wanted. I didn't know, like, it's this one here, the laser beam. I don't know where that's from. I just successfully Googled it. So I wanted... There's like this... I always think like Matrix was the first person to do it, who basically misses out the first kick on a new like 4-bar segment after a fill. Like I'm sure he's the first person to ever do it, and when it works really, really well in the right situation. So you can see here, just at the 64, 65 bar section, I've done that. I've cut out the first beat of the bar on those and muted them. You can see they're darker. Then this is sweeping up, and then the laser beam comes in there because I just really wanted that sort of futuristic but also nostalgic. It's supposed to be a futuristic song, and talking about time travel and infinity and like, you know, the self and change and all that stuff. And then like using an 80s kind of synthesizer sound is supposed to like hark back. It's too deep for fucking drum and bass, but like it was supposed to like be a reference to like 80s TV cartoons about space and things. So all with a one sample. So then we come in here, this part here. So Master Sid Lee. This Bjorn played this, like he's an amazing keyboard player. And he's just like, oh, I've done this solo, it'll be great. So I'm like, alright. Of course, being me, I bathed it in a reverb and put a spreader. So that's without the spreader. And this is with. Just to give it some width. And here you can see these are all my swooshes and booms. So that's a white noise going down, and then another, and then a sort of, and then a when it kicks in. Yeah, Photon Torpedo from the original Star Trek. I should know, being a big Star Trek fan. I'm more of a Next Generation guy. That's another kind of unconventional thing here as well, but so there's a section here. It's at the beginning of basically a new 8-bar section here, but I've cut all the drums out. But the way the synths go, I kind of wanted to give them a bit of a moment to shine, and it just seemed like that's the right point in the track. So you can see here where it goes made me blank. Oh, has the sound started crackling? Is it still crackling? Oh shit. It happens that sometimes it's just when the audio capture gets, or I'm sending it in too hot. No, I turned the output down. I think it might be. How long have I been streaming now? Do the old uptime. I wonder if after an hour, the thing that I use for like feeding back the audio, I wonder if it's a paid. I've only got a demo version, and it starts being a dick. After an hour. Oh well. Let's just see if it's still crackly. I'll play it and listen on my. I've turned it down. We can end on. Yeah, I think I've shown you everything anyway. At the end, I just do my usual. It's sort of rolling out, and then it's fine now. Okay, cool. Maybe it was just. Yeah, the thing is, like, I can get my other streams sounding perfectly well, but because this is my studio computer, I don't want to fuck around too much with weird audio internal routings. So I can get like Logic sending the audio out. Okay, but so yeah, so there we go. That's it really. Just the end. Everything just goes down. The old jet fighter comes in. There you go. So that's approaching zero really. That's one of my simpler constructions really. I think it helped that it started off as reworking Tiarum's track, and then it also helped that I was having to get some vocals done, so I kind of built an instrumental first, and then I could slot the vocals in, and then it just worked out nice. It was a pleasure to make this one. It didn't really feel like a struggle like a lot of my tracks end up doing. So that's really good. I'm really excited to play you the track I've been working on today. It's the one that I've shown you on stream previously, and I added a few more bits and bobs today. I haven't ruined it yet, which I've been worried I would do, but I still like it. So I really ought to get that finished this week. Trying to make more time for studio stuff. So yeah, I'll probably wrap this up because I haven't had any dinner yet or anything. I need to maybe change the times I do some of these streams. It's hard to work out what's the best combination of. Can I get that? Is that like that? What's the best combination of a time where you guys are available and up for watching, and when it's convenient for me, and when it doesn't like dominate my day and stuff. But I know a lot of you guys are interested in seeing studio stuff, so I think this is the first time I've got it doing the automatic scene switching on the studio stuff here. So hopefully, I think it looks pretty good. It's nice having it switching every 15 seconds, so you can you get the view of the studio. Oh yeah, studio tip: have a thing for making notes. Otherwise, you just sit here noodling away, or I do. I sit around noodling for ages. If you're losing steam on a track, just listen to it and write down the changes you want to do in future, and then it means you have like something to work through. And once you've done all of them and you listen to it, is it done? No, then what do you need to do? And I'm being a lot better about doing that rather than just listening over and over loud. The amount of hours I wasted back in the day, sort of when I'd be working on music and drinking wine into the night and stuff, I could have just stopped and gone to bed rather than sat there for 4 hours listening to the loop over and over again. But I guess that's vibing, isn't it? Cool. So anybody got any questions for me about this project or production type stuff in general before I knock this one on the head? How did I get to know Xenturion Prime Code 64? So I have a very good friend in Miami, my friend Casey, who is a really good producer and a DJ. He's originally from Wisconsin, but he's lived in Miami and Fort Lauderdale now. And I started hanging out with him years ago when I used to go to Miami for the Winter Music Conference. And he'd hit me up online beforehand or something, and maybe bought some tunes off my web store. And I was in some club on a cosplay night where it was cool alternative people went in a sushi samba on Tuesday nights. And he sort of involved in the sort of industrial scene, fetish scene, which is really and goth. It all crosses over, the goth industrial fetish lot. Really big in Florida and Miami and stuff. So all those guys were in there and would actually just get given tables and free drinks and stuff because they made the effort to dress up and look interesting. So I met him in Miami years and years ago, and I used to go to Miami for a couple of weeks or a month at a time, rent an apartment during Winter Music Conference, and then use that as a tour base and stuff. So spent a lot of time with him, and he introduced me to Code 64. Bjorn's the guy that I spoke to, and that was when I did The Journey, and I needed a vocalist. I knew he'd just be perfect. I absolutely love his voice, and because Code 64 Xenturion Prime are a band themselves, perfectly, they record the vocals where they live, in Norway or Sweden or somewhere, and just sent me the files. And if I need an extra, if I need him to re-sing a bit in a different way, I'll just chat and send it over, and it works perfectly. And yeah, I definitely want to be doing more stuff with them. So check out Xenturion Prime. I think they retired Code 64, and Xenturion Prime is the new project. And my friend Casey, who still hasn't done anything for my label, and I keep bugging him to, but he tends to do 4/4 and trance stuff. His group is called Alpha Quadrant, with a female vocalist. Inner Space Boy says, "Hi John, I was going through some old beta vinyl and I forgot how good the Exile 12-inch is. Still sounds really fresh. His production was quite ahead of its time. Absolutely. Exile is still doing some amazing stuff. He works, he sort of develops plugins and performance device things for native instruments. He's got an app now called Endless, with lots of S's at the end, I think. You should look that up. It's sort of, it runs on iOS, I think, and it's all collaborative. That's really good. Not to be confused, there's a new person that's making sort of jump up drum and bass stuff who's started using the name Exile as well. So don't confuse him with the original Exile. It's a different person. But the new guy makes pretty good tunes as well, so it's hard to hate. Cool, thanks for the answer. Just heard an Alpha Quadrant remix recently. Ah, good, cool. Yeah. They're getting some good stuff out now and some good support, so that's cool. And Alpha Quadrant's obviously a Star Trek reference, and I think Casey dresses up in like latex Star Trek uniforms and stuff on stage sometimes. So that's pretty cool. All right, cool. Any more questions, or can I go and have my dinner? Now it's 9 p.m. I'm probably not streaming tomorrow night. That would just be gaming anyway. I decided to not stream any gaming stuff for a little bit because I don't think most of you are that interested, and it brings my like average viewership down and makes me look sad and lonely. But once my new monitors come in and I've worked out a way to be gaming in like 144 hertz but still streaming okay at 60 if it doesn't affect performance, then I might do just for my own amusement, because there's lots of other games I think it'd be fun to play, and I don't really care, but I kind of like just sort of gaming on my own time, rather than having to like entertain you guys as well as trying to just chill. Cool. All right, guys. Yep. So, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hope that's been helpful. I'll archive this as well and upload it to YouTube. If you want to listen to the track, it's out now. It's called Approaching Zero. It's on my timelines thing. Oh no, we've got a spammer asking me to buy follows. No, get stuffed. U7, yeah. How do I ban him? How do you ban someone from the chat? Oh, there we go. Ban. Can you spam them? Can you say they're a spammer? Report. Yeah. Oh. Site suspension. Spam. Yeah. Spam. Oh, that's pretty easy. Cool. Hopefully I didn't I don't think I need mods yet. If you're volunteering, Captain Coach, we can talk. It's rare I need to sort of ban anyone or anything really. Everyone behaves pretty well. That's the first time I've had someone actually spamming stuff, and I think my settings stop people like posting links and things like that. Bigfollows.com. Lightning Tree Oliver. Cool, that's all right. I hope it's helpful. It's hard to see if the display gives you enough resolution to get an idea. I mean, I try to zoom in when I'm referring to something specifically, but hopefully just what I'm talking about is clear enough. Svat is a crazy spammer bot, that's true. I think we need to make a t-shirt that says Svat in the chat. I think that'd be cool. All right, guys, thanks very much. Cheers for tuning in. I'm going to end the stream now. I might raid somebody if I can find anybody to raid. So if you get sent to another channel, please be nice and have some fun. And I'll see you again soon. I'll be back on Thursday morning listening to promos, and then at the weekend doing a DJ set. So big up. Peace out. See ya. I'm going to send you over to a gaming channel to Tweak, who's somebody who plays Escape from Tarkov. It's the game that I play a lot, but I'm not very good at. He's very good at it. So, watch He'll be like, wow, John B's got 3 heroes. Everyone's dropped out early. Alright, thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll send this tweet now.